Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. In this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 12th April 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says de-escalation trend, positive says China. So this article mainly talking about India-China relations. And this article, it is very much important regarding GS paper 2 under international relations. Okay, so this topic is important regarding both prelims and also mains. So from prelims you can expect questions that are mainly based on map. So because of this, I am suggesting to open your map and see where are some important areas of dispute between India and China. And regarding mains point of view, you have to see what is impact of this military standoff between India and China, okay, at LAC region regarding India and China relations. Okay, that will be important regarding mains. And now let us try to talk about why this is in news. And already we discussed about background of this article number of times in our Hindu analysis. So if you're talking about background here, so India and China mainly divided by this LAC region, right? LAC line, which is mainly acting as boundary between India and China here, right? So what happened here? So from April 2020 onwards, we are saying there is military standoff at this LAC region. And China came into this India border and occupied many of these spaces. Okay, many of these places which comes under India's control. So they include mainly Pongyong So Lake and as well as some patrolling points like 14, 15, 16, 17 areas, 17 and 18 areas. And some areas include Gogra areas, Hot Spring areas, and as well as Demchuk Plain areas, and as well as some areas which are mainly occupied by China. So because of this, there are many levels of talks that have happened between India and China regarding this de-engagement of troops along this LAC. And if you're talking about recently, we came up with the 10th Corps Commander level meet. So they talked about disengagement in this Pongyongso Lake area. And now we came up with the 11th level of talks between these Corps commanders. And in this talk, we are going to have further de-escalation between India and China at LAC region, okay, in remaining areas. So this is some background. And now let us talk about context why it is in news and as well as some important details which are highlighted in this article. So if you are talking about this context, recently 11th round of talks between Corps Commander level that held. So because of this, they agreed on both sides regarding some commitments. So in this context, Chinese military said that they hoped India could cherish the current trend of de-escalation in other areas. So if you're talking about details of this article, which mainly talks about this 11th round of talks, it mainly says that Ministry of External Affairs on both sides, they had detailed exchange of views, okay, mainly for resolution of remaining issues at LAC region, okay. And next one is, these are mainly related to disengagement along LAC region, and on both the sides, they agreed to need to resolve outstanding issues between India and China. Mainly they need to go for resolving of issues, mainly accordance with already existing agreements between India and China and also existing protocols. And in this context, on both sides, they also agreed jointly to maintain stability on ground and as well as they want to avoid some new incidents in this LAC region. And they also agreed to maintain communications between military and as well as they want to go for diplomatic channels whenever they are having this type of issues. And in this context, you need to open your atlas and you have to see important areas. Okay, so this article will be important regarding both prelims and also mains. Okay, and now let us see next article. Title says investment projects bounce back in quarter 4. So this article mainly talking about investments. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 3 okay, regarding economy. This topic will be important regarding both prelims and also mains. So in prelims you need to see the trend of investments in country, and regarding mains what will be impact of this step, okay. So now let us see context first. If you see context, it mainly says that fresh investments rebounded strongly in the last quarter of 2020 to 2021. So in last quarter there is increase in fresh investment that is seen in Indian economy from both private sector and even from government based or government backed capital spending also. And if you're talking about some important details, in quarter 4 there is increase in investments that mainly accounts to 10.72 lakh crore in 2020 to 2021. And if you see some details regarding this investments, new projects investment, that is from January to March 2021, so it is almost 4 lakh crore rupees. That means 1 lakh, which is higher when we are comparing with this last year, that is 33.4% higher than previous quarter. And next one is there are 2,647 new projects. They are entitling investments of more than 23.93 lakh crore. So these are some important facts regarding this, some of details of investments. And if you see regarding this government projects, government came up with 1700 new projects. They are announced in quarter 4, and center's investment stimulus since March 2020, and also RBI came up with accommodative monetary policy, that is we can say expansionary monetary policy. So because of this there is increase in money supply in market. So because of this now private investors, they are investing in this investments in Indian economy. So this is one important analysis point of view you should remember. And what will be impact? So whenever there is increased investment in Indian economy, we can see that will boost our economy. We can see some revival of our economy. So this is first important thing. And second important thing is whenever we are increasing investments and whenever we are going for any infrastructure projects, then what happen? That will leads to employment. That means it will create direct employment, and as well as it will also leads to indirect employment. Right? So this is second important thing that you should understand. And third one is we can see that will leads to growth and development. Okay, so these are 3 important points that you should remember. And now let us see next article. Title says monsoon was stronger 7,000 years ago according to study. So this article mainly talking about monsoon, right? So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 1 under geography. So I want to suggest you one thing, please open your NCERTs and try to refer this topic of monsoons, because this will be very important and also one of favorite topic of UPSC. So now let us try to understand what is this article talking about. So recently one study that conducted by Central University of Kerala. So in this study they want to try about how this monsoon used to be in past. Okay, so this study revealed that monsoon was much stronger, that is from 7,000 to 5,000 years ago. So in these times monsoon was very stronger than we are comparing now. Okay, so now monsoons went a cyclic change which mainly caused by variations in solar radiation. Okay, so this is context. And if you see some important details, so study carried out in Indian Ocean that helps to understand changes of monsoons in past. So Indian Ocean plays a very important role, right? So as you all know that Indian Ocean plays an important role in monsoons. So why Indian Ocean plays an important role here? So if you are trying to draw a map here, so here we have equator and here we have Indian Ocean, right? So because of this, what happened, whenever winds are moving in this direction, they will turn towards right after crossing this equator. So they are called as southwest monsoon, and these southwest monsoon that will brings monsoon season in India. So whatever moisture which is present in this Indian Ocean, that will be evaporated because of increased temperature, and that moisture will be taken out by these winds, and that will leads to precipitation in this area, right? So this is about monsoons. So because of this, whenever we are understanding changes in Indian Ocean, so we can also understand changes in monsoon in past. And next important thing is it also helps researchers mainly to forecast monsoon variability, and as well as that results should be used for building models also. So if you're talking about why we need to study about this monsoons, so what is importance of this monsoons? So if you're talking about importance of monsoons, so whenever we are having weak monsoons, that will lead to severe impacts like severe droughts will be happen, severe famines, and also it will affect economy and as well as food security. So in the same way, whenever we are having strong monsoons, that will lead to cause of floods mainly in for example we saw this floods in Kerala in 2018 and 2019. So because of this monsoon outburst, okay. So because of this study done, and now let us see how this study was conducted. So if you're talking about study, they mainly use some instrumental records to identify variation in monsoon. But what happened if you're talking about these records, we have only records of past 150 years, but we need long-term rainfall patterns to understand how this monsoon have changed. So because of this, they constructed monsoon variability by using maritime or marine sediment core. So they collected marine sediment mainly from this Andaman Sea, and they studied variation of monsoon based on this sediment study. So if you're talking about why they selected this Andaman Sea, because it shows excellent preservation of fossils, and it also has significant influence of river water runoff in this Andaman Sea. So because of this study mainly selected this Andaman Sea to study this. And if you are seeing here, sample fossil shells, they were dated, and they are mainly dated by using some radiocarbon dating technology, and they found finally isotopic and as well as chemical composition of each samples. And later on, they came up with analysis. So this analysis mainly based on temperature and as well as salinity of seawater. And all these studies mainly tell about past freshwater runoff levels in ocean is very high from rivers. So because of this, there is less saline conditions. So whenever there is increased rainfall, that only leads to increased runoff. Okay, that only leads to increased runoff from rivers. So whenever there is increased runoff, then salinity of the sea will be decreased, right? So this is about this study. And now let us see next article. Title says center bans export of remdesivir. So this remdesivir, it is one of important antiviral drug. So this article mainly saying that center bans export of this remdesivir. So now we need to understand about this drug and as well as why this decision taken by center. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under health and also regarding governance. And now let us try to talk about this article in a great detail. So if you are talking about some facts regarding this remdesivir, why it is in news. So context here is center has prohibited exports of this remdesivir injection and as well as active pharmaceutical principle of this remdesivir to other countries. So why this decision taken by center? And if you see today's data regarding this COVID-19 cases, so there are 1.7, that is 1,70,000 fresh infections of this COVID-19 that are mainly identified within 24 hours. So because of this, there is sudden spike of cases in India. So because of this, there might be increased demand for this antiviral drug which is used to treat this coronavirus. So because of this decision which is taken by center. And now let us see some details regarding this article. So first one is India is witnessing a recent surge in COVID-19 cases. So as we all know, we are experiencing second wave of this coronavirus, and we are seeing there is more than 1.5 lakh cases they are recorded every day. So because of this, there might be increased potential for further use or demand for this injection, that is remdesivir, in coming days. So because of this, export of this remdesivir, it is banned by center. So if you are talking about companies which are producing these injections, so there are 7 Indian companies are producing this injection that will become under voluntary licensing agreement. Okay, So if you're talking about this decision, even Health Ministry gave some guidelines. So Health Ministry want to ensure easy access to injections, and domestic manufacturers of this remdesivir, they have been advised to display in their website regarding how much stocks is present and how many distributors are present and how much is the manufacturing capability of those remdesivir. And even Health Ministry advised drug inspectors and as well as other officers, they have been directed to verify stocks and also to check malpractices, and they have to take effective action to curb hoarding and as well as back marketing of this remdesivir. Okay, and now let us see some facts regarding this remdesivir. So this remdesivir, it is an antiviral drug, right? So this remdesivir, it is developed to treat Ebola and related viruses, and according to World Health Organization, so this drug, which is very helpful to prevent this COVID-19 viral replication. So it will mainly act on replication site. Okay, so this drug, which is mainly designed to obstruct this stage of replication. So this is gist of this topic, and now let us see next topic. So before saying next topic, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. So if you want to give your attempt in 2022, we came up with one excellent course, that is Current Affairs package along with mains answer writing practice. So if you're talking about this Current Affairs package, how it is useful to clear UPSC 2022. So before entering into examination hall, you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. Okay, so because of this, so this course, which is mainly focusing on how to cover this 1.5 years current affairs before you are going into examination hall. So if you are talking about importance of this current affairs, about 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains or even interview, you can get questions from this current affairs. And if you are talking about this mains answer writing practice, so many students who are especially freshers, who are beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. So in this context, mainly we need to focus on how to improve our answer writing skills, because answer writing skills will be very important to clear this UPSC mains. So without proper answer writing skills, you cannot clear UPSC for sure. So in this course, we are exactly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And if you join this course, we also conduct prelims test on every Sunday. We also provide you video solutions. So in this way, this course is exactly focusing on demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing. Please try to join this course as soon as possible and don't take this course as a choice. So details of this course are given in description box. And if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me on this number. You can note this number 8074765513. And now let us see next article. Title says a case for cash transfers. So this article mainly talking about one scheme of Kerala government, that is NYAY. It mainly stands for Nutan Aay Yojana. So we are going to see what is this scheme and when this scheme was launched, and as well as some important provisions of this scheme and also concerns of this scheme and what is this article talking about. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 2 under polity. So if you are talking about background of this Nutan Aay Yojana, so Congress party promised this minimum income guarantee scheme, that is Nutan Aay Yojana. Okay. So this scheme mainly promises annual income transfers. So if you are talking about monthly, it will be 6,000 rupees, and for annual, that is for 1 year, it is 72,000 rupees for each poorest 5 crore families. Okay, and if you are talking about prospects of this scheme, so it is unconditional transfer of money. It will provide some minimum income support to families, to poor. So whenever we are providing some minimum income to families here, it will help to address some immediate needs, like they can address their health problems, education, and also some indebtedness. And large section of targeted people includes landless workers, marginal farmers, and as well as unemployed youth. And this scheme will also help to improve demand and consumption in market, such that it will also lead to revival of economy. And if you are talking about challenges of this scheme, so whenever we are providing minimum income support or income guarantee to to any family, then some sections of beneficiaries, they could withdraw from their employment, right? They might be thinking like, I'm getting so and so income, rupees 6,000 rupees per month, and what is need that I should go outside and I should work. So because of this, it is one important challenge. And next one is, whenever there is increase in demand and consumption in market, that will also leads to some consequences like real wages, rise in real wages. So because of this, it will lead to some shrinking in this labor market. So these are two important challenges. And if you are talking about this scheme, is compulsorily this scheme will address some short-term effects, like it will provide some better nutrition for children, and it will also lead to some less food insecurity, and there will be leads to high consumption or high demand in market. Okay, so this will also helps people to come out of hunger and as well as food insecurity, and it will also reduce anxiety regarding basic needs for their family, for their children, etc. And it is also helpful for sustainability to alleviate from poverty. So these are some short-term effects of this scheme. And if you are talking about this scheme, why it is in news? Because they are going for revival of this scheme, because now we are in COVID-19 era. So because of COVID-19, we imposed national-wide lockdown. So because of this imposition of national-wide lockdown, almost all sectors, they are affected badly. So most vulnerable here is migrant workers. They started moving from urban areas to their poor villages, right? That is rural areas. So these people did not have any income, no livelihood. So because of this, we can also see some economic disruption in their families and even economic disruption in our economy, right? So if you're talking about business people, they faced mainly labor shortage in urban areas. So because of this, whenever we are going for revival of this scheme, that will ensure people to receive cash that will able to meet their immediate needs like health, education, etc. Okay, so this is gist of this topic. And now let us see next article. Title says enforcing claims. So we already discussed about this article. It mainly talking about UNCLOS, United Nations Law on Seas. Okay, United Nations Convention on Law on Seas, Law of Seas. So this will be very important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. And now let us try to talk about this article in a great detail. And this topic will be important regarding mains, and regarding prelims you need to refer some facts regarding this UNCLOS. So if you are talking about context here, recently US Navy that announced that 7th Fleet Destroyer, name of that US naval ship is USS John Paul Jones, which had traversed India's economic zone, exclusive economic zone, without prior permission of India. So if you are talking about, according to this UNCLOS, we have baseline, and whatever water which is present inside this baseline, that mainly comes under internal waters. So from baseline till 12 nautical miles, it comes under territorial sea, and from baseline, that is 24 nautical miles, and that means from territorial sea, that is 12 nautical miles, it will comes under this contagious zone, and from baseline 200 nautical miles, that will comes under this exclusive economic zone. Okay, so till this exclusive economic zone, it will comes under which territory? Okay, so if at all India having this 200 nautical miles, so under this 1200 nautical miles, it will comes under exclusive jurisdiction of India. Okay, so beyond this exclusive economic zone, which comes under high sea, so these are called as international waters. So if you're talking about this article, so US mainly said that it conducted freedom of navigation operation, that is FONPS recently. US mainly said that it is not new to conduct this freedom of navigation operations. It said that it regularly carries out such operations, okay, in order to assert international law of the coast of 19 countries here. So they also conducted this exercise even in China. So if you are talking about UNCLOS here, India signed this UNCLOS, but USA did not sign this UNCLOS. So because of this, it will not follow under this UNCLOS. So here finally author says that we need to resolve this issue as soon as possible. It should not create a dispute between India and USA. And now let us see next article. Title says why personal data protection bill matters. So we came up with this personal data protection law in year 2019, and this bill which is under scrutiny, okay, under joint parliamentary committee, and they are coming with some reviews, okay, and they are coming up with some proposed regimes here. So this article mainly talking about that. So this article mainly talking about what is need to protect personal data and how this bill that came into existence and what are the things which are concerned or which are came up or which are proposed by this committee. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 2 under polity. So now let us try to talk about this article in a great detail. So if you're talking about context here, so because of this pandemic, we are now using more digital economy rather than earlier, right? So if we want to buy anything, we are going and we are opening our mobiles, we are opening different apps and we are purchasing even our groceries, our milk packets and as well as some health services mainly through online or digital thing, right? So because of this, number of personal data which is breaches from major digital services providers. So because of this, there is increased cases of personal data breaches. So for example, if we talk about recently, that is MobiKwik. So this MobiKwik, it is one of India's biggest breach with data of 9.9 crore users. They are at risk now. So in this way, what is need? The need here is we need to have some robust data protection regimes. Okay. So these data protection laws, they need to prevent such events and they need to protect users' interest. Okay. So this is important thing. So because of this, we need to talk about Personal Data Protection Bill of 2019. So now this bill, it is under scrutiny by a joint parliamentary committee. So if you're talking about this Personal Data Protection Bill, it could play a big role in providing some robust protections mainly for users and as well as to protect their personal data. But this bill have some loopholes. So because of this, to address those loopholes, now it is under this joint parliamentary committee scrutiny. So if you're talking about why we need this data protection or data protection law. So if you're talking about one important judgment, all of you might know about this judgment. I am repeatedly saying about this judgment in our Hindu analysis also. So famous landmark judgment here which is given by Supreme Court is K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India. So under this judgment, Supreme Court mainly said that right to privacy, it is a fundamental right here. Okay. So in this context, Supreme Court also said that there is a need for data protection law. So whenever we are having this data protection law, it will mainly protect users and it will help to protect privacy of users. Okay. So because of this judgment, later on Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, which formed a committee under chairmanship of B.N. Sri Krishna and asked this committee to suggest a draft data protection plan, and later on in 2019 we came up with this data protection law. Okay, data protection bill of 2019. So if you're talking about this, okay, so now what is this bill actually means? So to understand this bill, we can read this bill under three heads. First is what it means for consumers, what it means for government and as well as some regulatory role, and what it is mean for companies. So if you're talking about what it is for consumers, so data can be processed and as well as shared by any entity by only after taking consent. So whenever we are giving consent, then only that company or that data that can be shared. And second one is it will also provide some safeguards. For example, penalties here. So these safeguards are very much important to prevent misuse of some personal data. And next one is all data that to be classified or categorized under three subheads. First one is general data, sensitive data and as well as critical data. And next one is government and regulatory role. So government will have power to obtain any users non-personal data from companies. Okay, and this bill will also mandate that all financial and critical data has to be stored in India. So whenever data which is stored in India, then only Indian laws that can be enforced on that companies. And next one is sensitive data has to be stored in India, but it can be processed outside with consent of India. And if you're talking about companies here, so for especially social media firms, because this social media which is very much highly used by people, so in this social media firms, they need to formulate a voluntary verification process for users. And next one is sharing data without consent that will entitles a fine of about 15 crores or 4% of global turnover. And whenever there is data breach or whenever there is no action or inaction which is taken by companies, then they will entitle fine of rupees 5 crores or 2% of global turnover. And if you're talking about what is upcoming regime which talks about, so it mainly talks about four important things. So let us see one by one in a great detail. So first one is, this bill mainly seeks to apply data protection regime of both government and private entities across all sectors. That means it will be applicable now for both government and as well as private. And second one is, it will mainly emphasize on two important things. First one is data security, second one is data privacy. So this data security and data privacy will be very important to maintain security safeguards, and we need to protect our personal data. And finally, we need to fulfill a set of data protection obligations. So we need to ensure transparency and accountability of process regarding how this data is collected and how this data is protected and how this data which is converted or processed, everything we need accountability and transparency. And next one is, this bill also seeks to give users a set of rights over their personal data. That means, so people who are providing their personal data, they need to know which data they are providing and what are important provisions under this bill. Okay, so these are some of the basic things that any individual should be known before giving consent. And next one is, bill seeks to create some independent and as well as powerful regulator, that is Data Protection Authority. So what is function of this Data Protection Authority? So important function of this Data Protection Authority, it is to monitor and also to regulate data processing activities such that it will ensure their compliance with their regime. Okay, so in this way, bill which is mainly seeking to bring a massive and meaningful change to personal data protection in India. So what is way forward here? So now it is time to ripe for India to have a robust data protection regime. So now bill, it is under scrutiny of Joint Parliamentary Committee, right? So because of this scrutinying bill, which proposed about 86 amendments and also one new clause to bill regime. So in this way, this regime or this now new regime that will targeting towards addressing various concerns regarding this data protection in India. So it will provide some stronger and also some more effective data protection regime in India. So this is gist of this article. And now let us see today's mains question. The proposed regime under the bill seeks to be different from existing regime which does not adequately protect users' data. Discuss. So regarding this topic, regarding this question, we detailedly discussed in our above article. Okay, so try to read that article at least twice and try to answer this question. And you should answer this question within 150 words. Okay, so by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.